Broadcasting.
Blog Talk USA. Are you tired of waiting for change? Tune into Blog Talk USA. Let your voice be heard on Blog Talk USA.
1012, and it gives me 1,250 feet. Checks it again.
TWA announced the arrival of their flight from Los Angeles and Chicago.
Well, we're very happy to be here tonight to claim victory. Oh, that's right. It didn't happen. Well, folks, let me tell you, it didn't turn out like we wanted it tonight. And I will simply let you know that how grateful, and I mean this from the depths of my heart, how absolutely grateful I am for all of you who have worked so hard. It's time to officially suspend the campaign, but not because of the votes. It's because of illness. Obviously, the voters are sick of me, and I need to acknowledge that. I'd rather win than lose, but I'm telling you, I had rather lose an election with the kind of wonderful people that have stood with us through this whole process than to win and not have the kind of prayerful, loving, and gracious support that we have enjoyed through this process.
And welcome, everybody, to the T&Z show for this Tuesday, February 2nd, 2016. Happy Groundhog's Day to you all. Okay, day after Iowa, we've got the results. We are going to be able to keep our crystal ball. I am Tony Trupiano. He is Richard Zombeck. The number at Blog Talk USA, 347-855-8118. Again, 347-855-8118. Okay, Richard Zombeck, here we go. Let the games begin.
Well, let's correct one thing, and we might have to have a little discussion about this. The results aren't quite in. Right, at least on the Democratic side.
They put a sticker on it. They put a stamp on it at 4 a.m.
Well, results are in, but it's still going to be a couple days until we find out what the real numbers are. Clinton was a little premature there yesterday at about exactly 12:19 a.m. I was watching. There was a 3-point difference. Hillary had them 667 to 664, and then it kept jumping around 669. Not only that, but there were six precincts that she won in a coin toss. Tony,
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter,
which I find kind of weird.
You know what? It doesn't matter, Z, because at the end of the day, Bernie Sanders bested her.
Well,
remember where this guy? Remember where he was just 4 weeks ago.
I mean, here's the thing, right? Is Iowa, right? Iowa. Okay, let that sink in first. Iowa, a socialist Jew, basically virtually tied Hillary Clinton in the Democratic race.
Yeah.
I mean, that's incredible. You know, I've said this before with the implosion of the Republican Party, but we are witnessing history. I mean, like like very little history before, right? I mean, there are times in history that I can say, boy, I really wish I was there. And I'm saying, and I'm glad I'm here. I mean, the stuff that we're going to see in our lifetime in the next 5, 10, 20 years of how this country is going to change and evolve is really going to put this little experiment of democracy to test.
Well, you stop, and I thought about this last night as I was putting together a list of future columns that I want to do in the very recent future. Let me just make this simple. We have been talking as progressives for really seriously a decade now, if not longer, about real change, about what it's going to take to move people, so on and so forth. All right, all that aside, aren't we actually manifesting that? I don't care what side of the political aisle you are at right now. Isn't this a presidential experience, whether we're talking Bernie Sanders or Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton or Marco Rubio or whoever, aren't we manifesting exactly, Richard Zombeck, what we have as progressives been clamoring for years, that the American people are finally using their votes to move the country in a direction they want to go in? I don't care if it's more to the right or more to the left. Isn't this exactly what we've been asking for?
This is what we've been asking for. On the right, definitely. I got to say, I was a little surprised. I wasn't so much surprised that Trump came in second. I was surprised that they chose over Trump a bigger nut job than him. I mean, essentially a bigger fascist and a bigger threat to democracy.
Well, we should probably just take a deep breath and really break this down. Let's talk about just straight winners and losers, and we can agree that Sanders and Clinton was a tie. I don't think that we need to crown anybody a victor there. Let's call them both a victors because Bernie Sanders had been doing well in the polling in Iowa. And so it's not a surprise that he did Z as well as he did. Ted Cruz, and we'll get to his little audio here in just a moment. Again, not a surprise. And I thought that Donald Trump's little concession speech or whatever it was contrite, whatever. It was okay. So if we take just a strict look at winners and losers, Sanders-Clinton tie, Ted Cruz wins, period. After that, it gets a little murky.
I like the way that came out. That's
after that, it just gets a little murky. Let's do this. Let's listen to, and let me just grab the audio real quick. Let's listen to Ted Cruz's just a very little bit of his victory speech.
Iowa. Thanks to the incredible hard work of everyone gathered here, of courageous conservatives across this state, we together earned the votes of 48,608 Iowans. To put in perspective your incredible victory that you have won tonight, that is the most votes ever cast for any Republican primary winner. This campaign has been a movement from millions of Americans across this country to organize, to rally, to come together. Whatever Washington says, they cannot keep the people down. And tonight is a testament to the people's commitments, to their yearnings to get back to our core commitments, free market principles, constitutional liberties, and the Judeo-Christian values that built this great nation. During the course of this campaign, people have asked Heidi and me, are you tired? And I will admit, it is 16, 18 hours a day, 6, 7 days a week. we are not tired at all. So tonight, the state of Iowa, the Democrats here, seem to be in a virtual tie between one candidate who admits he's a socialist and the other candidate who pretends she's not. And let me tell you tonight, I cannot wait to stand on that debate stage with Hillary Clinton.
And there you go, Z. Ted Cruz, the evangelist himself, letting us know that Iowans have done the right thing and have placed the next president of the United States of America firmly in a winning strategy.
And praise the Lord who said I was going to win, and let the light rain down on the Republican Party and the GOP. Hallelujah.
Well, as my former congressman tweeted last night, congratulations to Ted Cruz on winning the critically important primary state that also gave us President Santorum and President Huckabee. Thank you, John Dingell, for that.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, it really, and here's the thing, right, is that every single one of them said that they were anointed or told by God that they should run for president. How come when they drop out, they don't say, well, I guess I was wrong. I guess God didn't really talk to me there. Must have been wrong. Must have been just hearing voices because of my psychosis.
Well, again, I think that let's for a moment really look at Bernie Sanders, who should win New Hampshire without really much of a struggle next week. He did really well yesterday, and I think part of what I find energizing about how well he did is that organizationally, which is what was one of the concerns for the political geeks that actually read the behind-the-scenes stuff, which you and I do. Organizationally, there was concern about getting out the vote, and he was equal to that task, or his campaign was equal to that task, and ultimately that's a good thing. What I found interesting, and I just want to play, it's not a victory speech. In fact, his comments I found a little bit, odd for the situation, and it's not bad, not negative, just different. This is what he said.
Fossil fuel industry. So I say to the Republicans, stop worrying about your campaign funds from big oil or the Koch brothers or the coal industry. Worry about the planet you're going to be leaving your children and your grandchildren. Now, I have been criticized during this campaign for many, many things. Every single day. That's okay. That's okay. But let me repeat what I believe. I believe that at a time when every major country on earth guarantees health care to all people as a right, that I believe that we should do the same in the United States of America.
All right. See, I just find it odd that after really a really great showing in Iowa, that he would choose topics that are very warm and worn as his post-Iowa speech. I expected different. I really did.
What did you expect?
Some kind of, thank you. I don't know. I expected a more traditional, we're coming, we come off this great day, and even as close as it was, in fact, maybe it would make more sense to juxtapose this against what Hillary Clinton had to say. Although I do agree with you, she was a little premature in her remarks. hers was a more, if you will, traditional, and for whatever reason, my internet's really slow right now, so you're just gonna have to bear with me for a moment. But I don't know. I expected more enthusiasm. I don't even know if that's the right word from Bernie. I expected something different, and that's really the best way for me to put it. I don't know any other way to put it. I just expected something different.
When you say I think the people of Iowa have sent a profound message to the political establishment, to the economic establishment, and by the way, to the media establishment, right? I mean, he's in for the long haul, right? He's on message. This is what he's doing for, and I think we won. This is great. I love you all. It's really, that tells me it's like you want to be president, whereas Sanders kind of goes, hey, it was all of us, and we need to keep fighting, and this is what we're fighting for, and this is why we're here. I agree with you that it wasn't, it was atypical, but I don't have a problem with it.
I don't have a problem with it. I just thought it was, again, atypical is a great word. Let me just a little bit of Hillary Clinton, and then we'll do some comparison here.
What a great campaign. This has been an incredible honor to campaign across Iowa with so many of you to make the case for the kind of future we want for the Democratic Party and for the United States of America. There is so much at stake in this election. I don't need to tell you. Every single one of you who came out for me, who worked so many hours, from my young organizers with energy and passion to the families and friends across this state. I am deeply grateful. Well, I love all of you. But here's what I want you to know. It is rare. It is rare that we have the opportunity we do now to have a real contest of ideas, to really think hard about what the Democratic Party stands for and what we want the future of our country to look like if we do our part to build it. I am a progressive who gets things done for people.
All right. I guess that was more of the more typical of what I would have expected. Two things I want to point out. Number one, she mentioned young people, and there's a reason I'll point that out. I point that out, and I'll let you know in a second. Secondly, that she went out of her way to call herself a progressive, which she wouldn't have even done a year ago.
I found that very interesting.
Yeah, a year ago, she wouldn't have even uttered those words. The young vote, overwhelming for Bernie Sanders. The young demographic crushed Hillary Clinton in the Iowa caucus. She's got some heavy lifting to do, my friend.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, she does. And the youth vote is primarily Tony Trupiano. What is not included in a lot of the polling, right, is when they poll, it's typically people 40 to 60 that'll actually pick up the phone and answer pollsters, whereas the millennials and some younger don't even poll. They might do the online polls, which is why the online polls are important to look at. It's like the conversation we were having yesterday, Twitter and Facebook, what's going on. And what was going on primarily on Twitter and Facebook and social media was Bernie, Bernie, Bernie. Feel the burn, baby. Burn, baby, burn.
Well, and as we just for the moment wrap up the Democratic side of yesterday's contest and look forward a little bit, Bernie again is going to walk away from New Hampshire with a win. I think that it would take a miracle for Hillary to do that. But all that said, you and I talked really extensively yesterday about polling. And did polling win yesterday? At some level, we can say yes, it did, because it told us the Democratic race would be very, very close. It told us basically the result that we got on the Republican side of the aisle as well. Where it didn't really score was with Marco Rubio, which we'll get to in a little bit, because he, I thought, was the surprising winner. Let me very quickly, less than a minute, Donald Trump after the results were released.
Unbelievable. I have to start by saying I absolutely love the people of Iowa. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. So on June 16th, when we started this journey, there were 17 candidates. I was told by everybody, do not go to Iowa. You could never finish even in the top 10. And I said, but I have friends in Iowa. I know a lot of people in Iowa. I think they'll really like me. Let's give it a shot. They said, don't do it. I said, I have to do it. And we finished second. And I want to tell you something. I'm just honored. I'm really honored. And I want to congratulate Ted, and I want to congratulate all of the incredible candidates, including Mike Huckabee, who's become a really good friend of mine. So congratulations to everybody.
All right. Your thoughts?
Well, it didn't sound like Trump, did it? I mean, I know. Yeah. At least he didn't throw a tantrum,
It didn't sound like Donald Trump anyway.
Yeah, exactly. He had tweeted out a couple times a quote. I'm trying to find it. A quote about second place from a golfer that nobody remembers the person who came in second place. And he tweeted that out a couple times. No one remembers who came in second place. He was quoting Walter Hagen, a golfer who was like an 11-time winner. And he tweeted that several times, not only before Iowa, but a couple of years ago. And, here he is in second place. Now, the thing is that if he was a seasoned politician, he would know that, really, it's always evangelicals and the Bible thumpers that win the Republican caucuses in Iowa. Santorum and Huckabee. And Santorum actually has some. His name was given a definition by Dan Savage, which we won't go into right now. But these guys win. They're Bible thumpers. They're evangelicals, and they win hard in Iowa. But they fade into the background after all this. It's like somehow Iowa is like God's booby prize to the GOP. It's like, well, I told you were going to win. I just didn't tell you it was going to be Iowa. So maybe God does talk to them personally. I don't know, but if I was in the Republican Party and I got first place in the Republican in the Iowa caucuses, I would not be happy. I would not be pleased with that. I'd be happy with second place.
Well, certainly some of this is spin, and we get that. And listen, Donald Trump and I spent a real a serious amount of time, and I know it's only 11 o'clock in the morning Eastern time, but I probably spent already 5 hours reading different perspectives from different parts and different corners of the country and the world. A lot of people are calling Donald Trump the loser today, and I don't get that, number one. I don't agree with their reasoning behind it. He wasn't expected to walk away from Iowa the winner, and I think he is, at some level, the winner in this. We'll go back to John Dingell's tweet about President Santorum and President Huckabee. But let's now turn our attention, Z, to the reality of Marco Rubio. Literally, now had this had happened, had Marco Rubio bested Donald Trump and he was only 1 percentage point behind him, that would have been a devastating blow to Donald Trump. I think the closeness of it is fairly devastating. But as we talked about yesterday, Marco Rubio is someone we should be very afraid of, very, very afraid of, and he did awfully well for a guy that hasn't worked very hard at getting votes.
Well, but so here, let me just go back to the statement you made about everyone calling Donald Trump a loser. And, you know, there is a reason for that, at least in my opinion, right? That is a word that gets under Donald Trump's skin. That's a word that he can't stand. He doesn't want to be a loser. And the thing is, here's the thing with the Iowa caucuses, right? Iowa doesn't supply that many delegates, right? The value in the Iowa caucuses isn't to gain delegates. It's to shape media expectations and set the stage for the future, right? Whether it be in wins or whatever. And the media pounces on this stuff. So, you know, they take Iowa as a sign, you know, coming attractions. And if we win Iowa, we're going to take the rest of the country. Donald Trump was talking about taking all 50 states. You know, most people would be happy with 49. So, you know, but so, you know, he didn't get the Iowa caucuses. Now, does that make him a loser? Well, he doesn't want to be a loser, and he thinks other people are losers, and other people that come in second place are losers, and you're a loser, you know, and he said that. If we don't win, this whole thing was for nothing. And so for everyone who's anti-Trump to start calling him a loser is not really that much of a surprise, at least to me, Tony. I mean, I would expect, you know, maybe not Jeb. Jeb will call him a poopy head or a big jerk or a big meanie, and while he's sitting on his mommy's lap. But, you know, calling Trump a loser that's just what you do with a guy who doesn't like to be called a loser.
All right. Well, and I respect that. Let's to Marco Rubio. He did really well yesterday.
He did very well. He took the opportunity to give another speech.
Well, I mean, that's all he does, because he doesn't do a lot of campaigning. Here, you know, and again, not that you're not aware of this.
Or governing. Or legislating.
Or governing. Yeah, like going to work. You know, this goes back to that word establishment. You and I had this conversation on Friday's show. Whatever establishment means, now Marco Rubio is supposedly the establishment candidate. And so no matter what happens, this may be the opportunity for him to be the placeholder for that establishment. If we look at the rest of the results, let me just quickly run through these because I think it's important that we do it, just to be fair to everybody. And I'm just going to go by percentage of vote. Ted Cruz got 27.7%, Trump 24.3%, Rubio 23.1%. From there, obviously, drastic drop-off. In order, Ben Carson, 9.3%, Paul, 4.5%, which I thought was a little surprising, Jeb Bush, 2.8%, Carly Fiorina, 1.9%, John Kasich, 1.9%, Mike Huckabee, 1.8%, Chris Christie, 1.8%, Rick Santorum, 1%, and others goes into the 0.1%. Oh, and Jim Gilmore, 0%. So even others got more votes than Jim Gilmore, who, as I said yesterday, I forgot was even running. You know, you take a look at those numbers. You take a look at what's happened over the last couple of months, and now you ask yourself, I think what is the question that it's incumbent upon us to ask, because it's what we do as pundits, how does this shape, not maybe necessarily next week, and I think that your comments to the media dialogue are critical here. But, you know, does this help shape the way it looks in Nevada and South Carolina, et cetera?
Well, New Hampshire, for whom?
Excuse me. Yes, I'm still fighting my cold. For all of them, for the entire field.
Well, I think in general Iowa shapes what's going to happen, and at least how the media is going to address this. Right? They're going to look at this at least until New Hampshire to go here were the clear winners, and then we'll see who fades off. I mean, we've had this conversation about whether or not the caucuses really matter anyway, and it's hard to say, looking at past caucuses, whether or not this is what this means at all. We've got New Hampshire, we've got South Carolina, we've got several others coming up. New Hampshire is certainly going to be telling for the quote unquote New England territories. I don't know if it's a clear representation, but and I don't really have a clear prediction of who New Hampshire would go for. I mean, Scott Brown won Massachusetts, so what the hell do I know? But I don't think it's going to be Cruz in New Hampshire. I'd be surprised if it was Cruz in New Hampshire. He seems a little too nutty and holy roller for a New Hampshire crowd, but I could be wrong. I don't think you're wrong there, not at all. I think you're actually done on that regard. Bernie's going to get it hands down because of the neighborhood. He's close to Vermont. People know him. People know who he is, and he's from that area, right? I mean, it doesn't matter if you're from Massachusetts, Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire. You're from New England, right? When you're in one of those states, there are odd little pockets of Massachusetts that would vote for Scott Brown because he's got a truck, but they're few and far between. I think, quite frankly, most of the voters were lazy in that election and didn't really. Again, that could never happen. So I'm not going to go out and vote, and that's one of my biggest fears with the general election coming up at the end of the year, is that, we have Trump or Cruz, and people are going to go, I don't even have to go out. This guy could never become president of this country, and not bother to vote because they either think someone else is going to pick up the slack, or it's just never going to happen.
Certainly, that's always been one of my concerns, and you and I've discussed this as well. This idea, and especially as lazy as Democrat voters are. They think, and even on Twitter last night, I'm looking at Twitter this morning, and people are saying, I want to thank the GOP in Iowa for giving Democrats a clear victory come November. They didn't do that. Wake up. Hold on. That frustrates the bejesus out of me. All right. With that said, and as we take a look at the rest of the field, I got to give you a chance to talk about Martin O'Malley withdrawing or suspending his campaign, because you've had a lot of fun with this guy, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, but finally, from the age of 5 on, he finally has to say bye.
He's finally got to say, I'm surprised he didn't sing something from The Sound of Music,
Yeah.
Adieu, auf Wiedersehen, good night. Because he's always breaking into song at his events. So I mean, I feel, I don't know. I think I kind of want to feel sorry for the guy, and I just can't, because I know that he's genuine. I know that he means well in his heart of hearts. He really wants to affect change, and he does a good job, and he's a good politician, and he's a caring guy. But he just has spent way too much time practicing in front of the mirror and watching old Jimmy Stewart films, because I mean that's what he reminds me of. I mean, he just reminds me of, it's like, ask me a question, hey Richard, how's the weather? Well, Tony, let me tell you, and what the American people want and what they like about the weather is exactly what I want to give them, and I have a plan. It's a 3-point plan. And that's just that's the way he comes across. He comes off as like he's been rehearsing, and he's well rehearsed for just about every possible question that could come down the road. I mean, the guy's brain must just be jam-packed with speeches. Well, if someone asks me this, I'm going to say this. And if someone asks me this, and it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon, this is what I need to say. And if it's 3:15, I need to say it more like this. And I'm going to practice it. Honey, don't come in. I'm practicing my speech. I mean, that's the sense I get from the guy.
Well, yeah. Well, again, it's been that way for a very long time, and finally he bows out. Somebody sent me an email this morning. I interact with, obviously, a very diverse group of people, and, he said, well, listen, what Martin O'Malley did was great. It was great for the country. It was great for the message. He just went on and on and on, and then said this perfectly positions him to run in 8 years. Okay, well, good luck with that. How do you respond to that?
It's like Marty, we need to have a little talk. Listen, no.
Well, it's over for him. Now, one of the questions we posed yesterday, which is a question we have to pose again today. I will say that based on what I read this morning, Rick Santorum says that he's reevaluating his campaign, but does plan to be competitive in the upcoming primaries. So he's not necessarily looking to walk away. Carly Fiorina, Jeb Bush, John Kasich. These are, Chris Christie. I don't think Christie expected to do terribly well, and so he didn't. But, at what point do these, and listen, I agree, Iowa's not the reason to walk away. For Huckabees and O'Malley's, yes. I mean, it's clear, not only because Huckabee won Iowa before, so it's not like that wouldn't be his state. It would be. But sweet God, for these other people, I just don't understand what they can do at this point. Jeb Bush spent lots of money, $100 million at this point. It has nothing to show for it. Nothing.
Jeb.
Exclamation point. Jeb.
He's got a sign in Iowa that says Donald Trump is unhinged. I mean, he does have that. That's worth some real estate right there. But yeah, and he was the favorite coming into all this. It was like, oh boy, Jesus, we're gonna have I was saying it. We're gonna have another Bush in the White House. There's no way this. It seemed like a done deal. It seemed like presumptive nominee like Hillary Clinton. And this has all been just a huge surprise, and for most of them, a giant cluster F. I think Christie, I think, would probably hang on until New Hampshire because he could get some numbers in New Hampshire. That's a possibility. Fiorina, her ego's too huge to quit. Jeb is a Bush, and he's going to keep pouring. He's going to keep bleeding cash. I mean, he's just going to keep bleeding cash. Why Carson is even still in the race, why he even got in, never mind why he's still in, is beyond.
Let's go there a second. Yesterday, I don't know if you saw this little sidebar story, but while all the other candidates were trying to get out of Iowa ahead of the snowstorm to get to New Hampshire, Ben Carson decided he needed to go back home to Florida to get a change of clothes. And I wish that were a joke, but he said that he needed to repack his suitcase. And so he's skipping New Hampshire and is going to Florida for two reasons. He needed clean clothes and he needs a little rest.
I almost want you to repeat that whole thing.
I knew that I would get you on that one. Anytime I can make Z a little bit speechless, it's almost like he's saying, I think he's messing with me, but he wouldn't do that to me on air. I'm not messing with you, and I wouldn't do that to you on air. Yeah, no, he literally said that he needs to fly to Florida to get some clean clothes and to get a little R&R, quote unquote. I need a little R&R.
This is Ben Carson we're talking about.
Yes, but make sure you vote for me for president.
Ben Carson, who looks like he's taking a nap when he's on stage.
That's the guy, yeah.
The most mellow, quite possibly pot-smoking candidate up there. I mean, with his little... And he keeps his arms so close, he looks like a Tyrannosaurus Rex when he talks.
Well, now don't forget now he's got a portrait in his home of he and Jesus Christ. This is the same Ben Carson I'm talking about.
Black Jesus.
Black Jesus.
He in the bathroom.
Yep.
Him and Black Jesus in
same Ben Carson. So that's how he took yesterday's Iowa caucus. I'm going home to get some clothes, and then, of course, on social media, it's hilarious. The press on social media's reaction to that quote was basically, hey, should somebody tell Ben Carson they actually sell clothes in New Hampshire?
Well, but he also suspended his campaign to sell his book, right? Back a few months ago. I'm gonna stop campaigning for a while so that I can do a book tour, and then I'm gonna sell some books. And
you do a great Dick Cheney and a great Ben Carson. The longer we do this, the better I feel about this relationship, Richard Zombeck. That's all I'm going to say. You do a really great Cheney, and that was an awesome Ben Carson. Congratulations.
I was starting to wonder if anyone actually knew that I was on stage here. And I stabbed someone.
Well, that was funny. I'm watching an interview with him yesterday morning on MSNBC, and somebody said something about being angry, and he goes, "Well, I'm not now, but I used to be."
Yeah.
I mean, that was it. That was the comment. I'm not now, but I used to be.
Yeah. Oh, it's just quick. I mean, when I see some of these candidates, I worry that somehow SNL and The Onion are going to run out of material. Because really, Tina Fey's with Sarah Palin, her job just is probably the easiest job out there, because all you really have to do is get in front of a microphone and repeat what Palin said verbatim. Just really no exaggeration there. And some of these guys are the same thing, and the impersonations of them on SNL and stuff are spot on. But that said, they're pretty easy. They're pretty easy impersonations. I mean, they're not. There's not a lot of effort that has to go into making fun of these people. You can just repeat what they say.
Yeah, absolutely. I just got an email, and I wanted to share it with you because you had made a comment about social media and polling, and so let me just share some numbers with you. Social media, on Facebook, and I'm just going to give these to you on the way they were rated. Mentions, Bernie Sanders, 42.2% of mentions were Bernie Sanders. Donald Trump was second, Hillary Clinton third, Ted Cruz fourth, Rand Paul, Ben Carson, and then finally Marco Rubio. So I thought that was kind of, and it's always, Bernie always is burning up social media, man. They love them. Social media loves Bernie Sanders. Yeah. If the media did, that'd be one thing, but the mainstream media doesn't seem to love the guy as much as everybody else does.
Well, because I was watching. I think it was last night, and Chris Matthews was on late at night, and his comment. Now, this is something I generally like Chris Matthews. He's well educated. He's informed. He knows what he's talking about. But he was continuously referring to Bernie Sanders as that socialist from Ben and Jerry country. And I found that really, I'm going to say unprofessional, right? Because, I mean, this is a guy that is actually running for president. did everything that you have to do to run for president, is getting the numbers, and he's referring to him as the socialist from Ben and Jerry's country, and I found that a real knock and kind of biased coming from someone even like Chris Matthews, who felt a trickle up his leg or something like that, and when Obama won, and what he said, and I see where he's coming from, and what he said is that there's not going to be a Sanders win because it's too much of an ideological switch for people in this country, and to a large degree, I think he's right. I mean, I think the smart money, the sure money, would be on Clinton. But even knowing that, I would still probably make the bet on Bernie because I'm an idealist when it comes to that. And I think he's got a really good chance. He's definitely giving her a run for the money. And if nothing else, he's changing the discussion and moving the discussion in a very good direction.
And in that regard, I couldn't agree more. And listen, it'd be disingenuous of me to play the game any other way. I have been at some level, and because I've done this with you on air, critical of Bernie's foreign policy, a lack of experience, the way that he dialogues about foreign policy often makes me nervous. But I can definitively say, if he were the party nominee, he would get my 100% support. I would throw everything I have, what little that's worth, behind the guy. I'd have no problem with him representing me and my country. I'm also a realist. I'm an idealist, but I'm also a realist. We're not going to do Medicare for all. It's not going to happen. He will never have a Congress that will allow that to happen. We're not going to have free college for everybody. We'll never have a Congress that will allow that to happen. That doesn't mean, Z, that there are going to be hybrid discussions and that there will be negotiations and there will be other policies that won't find favor in a Congress that will want something in return, and they're going to have to give something to get something. So I'm a realist in that regard, but I would have no problem getting behind this guy if he were the party's nominee.
Yeah, and I think anyone that gets in, be it Hillary or Bernie, is going to be up against some of the same stuff, if not even worse, than what Obama was up.
Yeah, well, and by the way, I didn't read the story, and I just saw the headline maybe 3 minutes before the show started, but it said Obama to meet with Bernie Sanders. Any idea what that's about?
What was that?
The headline was Obama to meet with Bernie Sanders, but I didn't have time to read it because it was literally right as we were starting the show.
I thought he already did. I thought that happened.
Maybe he did.
That may be an old headline.
You're right. It could be an old headline. Like I said, I didn't have a chance to read it because I was literally clicking us to go on air as I saw the headline. So I thought, well, I'll find it after the show and read it then.
And he did. He met with he met with him 6 days ago on last Wednesday. There's not a lot of talk about it was basically that they focused on domestic and foreign policy issues plus quote unquote a little bit of politics is what Sanders said. So there wasn't a lot of discussion about what the entire conversation was. There was a big hubbub about not a kerfuffle, Tony. I know you're looking for just a way to squeeze that word in. But
that's not hard anymore. But go ahead.
There was some hubbub going on for a couple of days there about Bernie Sanders meeting with Obama and what it was all about, and neither of them were really too forthcoming about that. So.
All right, so it is now Tuesday. It's the day after the Iowa caucuses. I think, in my opinion, and this is where I'm going to ask you the question, and really give the audience an opportunity as well. But let me just throw the number out there, then I'll ask the question. 347-855-8118. So it's the day after the Iowa Caucus. I think the biggest story coming out of yesterday is Marco Rubio. What do you think is the biggest story coming out of yesterday?
Probably, I would say Trump losing.
All right.
And I don't think that deserves to be the biggest story, but I think the media is all Trump all the time. Now he's gone dark. There's complete radio silence from the Trump campaign. There's been no Twitter activity. There have been no call-ins to shows. So, there's going to be speculation around that as to whether or not he's licking his wounds, or he's feeling dejected, or he's involved in some major sheep therapy, hiding under the covers, or whether or not he's now planning an attack on Marco Rubio, who he's got to go after. I don't think Cruz is going to be an issue in really any of the other states. And I think the major, so then maybe you're right. If they're looking at this carefully and they're seeing Rubio as a real threat to Donald Trump, it could be what's in Rubio's background, what's going to come out of the Trump. So we might both be right. It might be about Trump and Rubio and what's going to happen there.
No, I'm not sure if there's a right or a wrong. I just want people to. I just really want to caution people about Marco Rubio. You and I were talking earlier this morning, as we do every morning before the show, and my concern oftentimes isn't the guy we elect, but the guy that we elect who surround him. George W. Bush, classic example. Dick Cheney was the chair of his vice presidential search, ends up appointing himself to that role. Clearly, 70+% of George W. Bush's cabinet was Dick Cheney's cronies from his Halliburton years and previous stints as the Secretary of Defense and other positions he held at the White House in other administrations. Marco Rubio doesn't have those kinds of relationships, so he's going to have to rely on the puppet masters that he has to fill these critical roles. If anybody thinks that Marco Rubio would be the guy, if anybody thinks that Marco Rubio would think for himself, would know how to run a country, would be able to dialogue with world leaders, you're really not paying attention.
Yeah, no. I mean, he's a little punk. And I think Trump knows that, and Trump knows how to deal with little punks. He's very scripted. He's very contrived. He looks like a nervous little boy that's about to pee his pants. Constantly. He just looks like a little Chihuahua. And I'm not saying that because of his Latino background. I'm saying that because Chihuahuas shake and jitter around and stuff. I don't trust the guy. I think he's Trump already went after him for, how much water he drinks. He's like, you ever seen this guy? I mean, he had cases and cases of water brought in, and just cases. I've never seen someone drink so much water. And, Trump has a knack for implanting these little visual images of other people in people's minds that stick. They just stick. I got to give the guy credit. He's gifted in a lot of different ways. I knew a woman like that who could basically, and I didn't date her. My brother did, but you'd be hanging out in a bar drinking, and she would sniff a weakness about you, and she would just look at you and go, "So how is the relationship you have with your mom?" And you would just, you'd just start crying. And Trump is like that. He can sense weakness, and he knows where to go. He knows what's gonna stick with people. So this is gonna be a lot of fun. I mean, it's gonna be a lot of fun to see what happens. What happens with this little kerfuffle, Tony Trupiano?
Oh, sure. Steal it from me. I see how you are. All right. In the few minutes we have left, I want to do a little curveball. This isn't one that's going to hurt. I saw a story yesterday on the news in passing that I really got a kick out of. A woman was traveling down an expressway somewhere in the country, and a cop passes her going really fast. And she thinks to herself, God, he's going awfully fast. His lights aren't on. And this is kind of crazy. So she speeds up a little bit to see how fast he's going. Well, after she got to 90 miles an hour, driving that fast scared her. So she slowed down. Well, she sees him get off the expressway and decides to get off as well. And she follows him to a red light, jumps out of her car real quick, had the good mind to have her cell phone and video on the phone handy, and starts questioning the cop and says to him, do you realize how fast you're going? And he, no, ma'am. She said, 90 miles an hour. Where are you going in such a hurry? Is there an emergency because you didn't have your flashers on? Really read this guy the right. And I thought, well, good for you. Good for you. Now, I know, I've seen this, I'm sure you have as well, where a police car will get to an intersection, and instead of waiting for the light to turn red or green, they'll put their flashers on so they don't have to wait. I've seen that happen dozens of times. I thought it was just good that this woman, just kind of made this cop up for one. I thought that was a good thing. I'm just sharing the story with you.
Wasn't there something about a citizen's arrest too, or did she not cite him?
She did not. Well, you know what? She may have cited him, to be honest with you. That may be the same story. I just don't remember off the top of my head. But it was the story itself is what I found nice. I thought it was just a good story.
Yeah. No, I think I mean, why not? I've wanted to do that several times. Yeah, because you see that little whoop whoop, and then they bump through the red light. And I'll look at my wife sometimes, and I go, "Oh, there must be a sale somewhere, or free donuts."
Well, listen, if that's where you get your kicks, if your power from not, having to stop at a red light, well, God bless you, go for it. But, you got to wonder at some point, has that caused accidents in the past? Of course it has. All that being said, that this woman had the mind to follow him, to stop him, to record it, and then release it to the media, I thought was a good thing. And listen, we need cops, in this country and all of our communities, and most of them are great people, and they work really hard. And I don't question that, but if you're going to abuse your power as a police officer, try being overly cautious and good as opposed to ignoring the rule of law because you can. That's where I have an issue. And with all the militarization conversation that's gone on in the last couple of years, yeah, it's good to hold them accountable. I was proud of her. That's all. I was really proud of her.
Yeah, I always figured they're rushing to hear.
Yeah, who knows? All right, let's wrap it up. What do you want to say before we get out of here?
Well, let's do the numbers, Tony, and tell them where they can find us at TandZTalk.com. That's TAND, ZTalk.com, and from there you can download all of our past shows, including this one will be up this afternoon. You can find us on Twitter. You can subscribe to our newsletter. You can find us on iTunes and Stitcher. And if you are downloading us on iTunes, please leave a comment, a nice one. Give us a nice rating. Help us get our numbers up. You can do the same thing on Stitcher if you're on Android, and or if you're on iOS for that matter. And our Twitter handle is there, our Facebook page, and everything. And as usual, also we want. Go ahead.
Yeah, let's. I want to, if we can, we've got a minute. Let's just talk about importance of ratings on iTunes and why we're asking people to do that. Because you and I are going to do a big push this week on that. It's for an important reason. We want a larger audience. We want to make sure that we're making a difference.
Yeah, and the higher the ratings, the more we can be seen. It's a visibility thing, right? It's like Facebook likes. The more people that like your Facebook post, the more other people are going to see it because it's deemed important. So if we get ratings on iTunes, it pops our numbers up, and iTunes and Apple takes notice of that, and they put us in a up-and-coming section or places to watch or whatever.
Well, and I'll repeat something that people will see in the email, the social media stuff that we send out. All it costs you is a couple minutes of your time. We're not asking for money. We're just asking for a couple minutes of your time. In the meantime, that'll do it for us today. Our big thanks to the folks at Blog Talk USA for giving us the space to do what we do. He is Richard Zombeck. I am Tony Trupiano. Have a great Tuesday. We'll be back tomorrow. And as always, we ask that you be well.